Millennials are infamous for not working as hard as the generations that came before them. They had an easier life and never had to struggle as hard as previous generations. Young people need to understand that they cannot criticize older people for their problems and start fixing the issues themselves. So first I said millennials are infamous. So currently a millennial right now is someone who's anywhere from 23 to 38 years old. So we call that's kind of, you would Koreans say the younger generation, we define them as millennials. And they are infamous for not working hard. So being infamous is being known for something, usually in a negative light. So they are kind of worldwide, they don't work very hard, and older people kind of recognize that. So they're infamous. And I said they don't work as hard as the generations that came before them. So it was like when we say came before something, that means it happened in the past. So like, who was the boss before me? Or who was the boss before them? So who came before them means who was here previously. Boomers are not to blame for the problems experienced by younger generations. The children of boomers and Gen X had a great life and a lot more opportunities than in the past. Younger people need to recognize the issues and start to change what they are upset about. All right, so I first started off, I said boomers. Now, baby boomers is the term we use, but we've kind of shortened it to boomers. That's anyone 56 and over. And then I said also Gen X or Generation X, but we say Gen X for short. Gen X is anyone from 41 to 55. Problems are universal with every age group. We can't turn a blind eye to what issues younger people are feeling. We need to take a look at why younger people are upset and then figure out a way to fix our societal problems and undo the problems created in the past. The generation gap should not influence our ability to tackle these issues head on. So I said the problems are universal with every age group. So if something is universal, that means it happens everywhere to everyone. And then so with every age group. So when we talk about an age group, we define it, people in their 20s, people in their 30s, people's 20s to 40s. If you work at a company, you would target a specific age group. So if you were doing cosmetics, it would be women in their 20s and 30s. And I said, we can't turn a blind eye to what issues younger people are feeling. So to turn a blind eye means ignore something. So if you're turning a blind eye to something means you are not paying attention to it. You know it's there, but you're ignoring it. And then I said, we need to fix our societal problems and undo the problems created in the past. So to undo something is to kind of fix it, to do it again, to make sure that you're trying to solve the problem. So if you see a problem, hey, let's undo this problem. That means let's fix it. And then I said, the generation gap should not influence our ability to tackle these issues head on. So the generation gap. So again, millennials, you might have people in their 20s and they're dealing with people in their 50s. That's a huge gap. It's kind of the way they talk, the way they think. That's a generation gap. So if you say there's a big generation gap, that means there's a big age difference. And it should not influence our ability to tackle these issues head on. So to tackle is when you wrap your arms around someone and take them to the ground. We use it in football or rugby, but to tackle an issue means to get a hold of it, get control of it, and solve it. So we say tackle these things head on. Head on would mean if the problem's coming at you, you're coming at the problem, you would hit it really hard face to face. So to tackle something head on is to aggressively solve a problem. Issues are omnipresent for all people. We can't point fingers all day at each other, but it will not fix anything. We first need to recognize the trials and tribulations of the younger generation and try to improve the societal conditions so they can advance. So I said, issues are omnipresent. If something is omnipresent, it means it's everywhere. So some people say that God is omnipresent, but what's saying, problems are omnipresent means everyone has problems all the time. And I said, and then we can't point fingers at each other. Pointing fingers is a way of showing blame. So if I point my finger at you, that's like I'm blaming you something. So it's like, if you have a problem, we say, hey, don't point fingers. Or we can't point fingers all day because all we're doing is saying, oh, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. You need to fix it. So in this case, you shouldn't point fingers, you should start solving the problems. And I said, we first need to recognize the trials and tribulations of the younger generation. Trials and tribulations means people who are going through a hard time. They're kind of being tested. Like right now, the economy is going through a lot of trials and tribulations with the coronavirus. So it's like when you're going through a very hard time and you're being tested and things are really tough. Thanks, guys, for downloading. And you can contact me at fury@gmail.com. That's FEUREY@gmail.com. Bye-bye.